All right, we're ready to put the bread in the oven. So I've got a couple of different pieces of equipment for right now. I've got a cup and a half of water. This is to actually steam the oven, as I mentioned before. I've got my 2 bread bowls. I've got parchment paper. The bread's actually gonna go in the oven on the parchment paper. I've got scissors for cutting the parchment paper, and then I have a lame. So this is actually just a razor blade, and the purpose of this is to actually slice your bread before you put it in the oven. And the reason for that is that the bread expands a lot when it goes into the oven. And if you don't create weak points in the dough, it'll just kind of blow out in the weakest part naturally, and it doesn't look as nice. So with this, you make nice patterns, you allow the dough to expand. So I'm gonna start with the parchment paper. I'm gonna take the first bread. Hopefully it releases easily from your bread, from the banneton. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut the parchment paper. Now I'm gonna take the second one. And I'm gonna cut this one as well. And now I'm going to use the lame. And if you don't have a lame, you can use a razor blade or just a really sharp knife. You can have fun with the designs to do this. I usually cut my bread in the same way. I do 4 slices. And then a nice pattern in the center. Do the second one. Again, 4 slices. Okay, now before we put this in the oven, I'm gonna pre-steam the oven. So I'm gonna put roughly 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of water into the oven, and I'm gonna place it into the pan that I told you to preheat the oven with. So the oven right now is at 460. I see the steam going in there. And the reason for the steam is essentially it allows the bread to rise without drying out. So as soon as the crust of the bread starts to dry out, it no longer can rise. And so by keeping it moist with the water, it allows the bread essentially to expand naturally. We'll put the first one in onto the stone. Again, if you have a cookie sheet, that's totally fine. Take the second one, put it into the oven. I'm going to take the remainder of the water, and I'm now going to pour the remainder of the water into it. For that last little bit of steam. And with that, we're going to set the timer for 45 minutes, and we'll be back hopefully with our finished breads.